Hi everyone, welcome back. Bex here today to bring you a review on one of the more highly anticipated releases of 2019, and that is The Fountains of Silence by Ruta Sepetys. I do want to note that this is an advanced reader's copy. It was sent to me at my request from Penguin Random House, so thank you to them for sending this to me a little bit early. Ruta Sepetys writes award-winning young adult historical fiction. If you think the name sounds familiar, it's because a few years ago she wrote Between Shades of Grey, which had a huge amount of success and was actually made into a movie that was released in 2018 called Ashes in the Snow. This book is also young adult historical fiction, as is her style, except it takes place in Madrid, Spain in 1957. This book does have multiple point of views, but I would kind of consider Daniel to be the main character. He's 18 years old, he's recently graduated from high school, and he's traveled from Dallas, Texas to Madrid. Daniel's parents decided to go to Spain on business, and Daniel tagged along because his mom wanted him to experience Spain since she was born there and Daniel was raised speaking Spanish in the household. So while Daniel's parents are off doing business stuff, Daniel has a lot of free time to befriend the people working at the hotel, befriend other Spaniards, and then also work on his photography, which is his big passion. His dad is a Texas oil tycoon and wants Daniel to join the business, but of course Daniel doesn't want to do that. He wants to go to journalism school and travel the world taking photos like some of his favorite idols. One of the people that Daniel befriends is Anna. She's another one of the very prevalent point of views that we get in this story, and they sort of have a bit of a thing going on, as is very common in young adult novels. So we do have a bit of a romance in here, and then we also follow a few other characters that are all Spaniards living in Spain. If you're someone that knows a bit about history, you may remember that in 1957, this was during the dictatorship under General Francisco Franco, following the Spanish Civil War. He was in power for many, many years. One of the things Ruta does so well is taking this historical time period and integrating it in with the characters' thoughts and feelings, slipping in little side notes about stuff that make you want to learn more. I know a little bit about the Spanish Civil War and the dictatorship that followed, but I would definitely consider it very, very small. I don't think there was ever a time in school where we really talked about it other than it being mentioned in passing amongst other things going on. So reading this book gave me a chance to learn a lot about it. I mean, the bunch of the stuff in the back of this book is just research and sources that Ruta used to write this book. So you know that when you get one of her books, she has done her research, and it's so impressive. I learned a lot from this book, and that's something that I loved about it, because I do love reading to learn. That's why nonfiction is my favorite genre of book. One thing that I do like about having a book with multiple point of views in a historical setting is that you get to see the situation from a bunch of different points of view. So we have Daniel, who is the American, who is walking into this situation, who really doesn't know anything. We have Anna, who's grown up without parents because they were killed during the time of the war. We have Anna's cousin Puri, who works at the Inclusa, which is run by the government, and it's an orphanage. And then we also get a few other people that live in this sort of not so great area outside Madrid. Having those multiple point of views gives you the ability to learn a lot, because if you're only reading from Daniel's point of view, you're only gonna see what he understands. By hearing from Anna and Puri and a few other characters, we're able to get a bigger picture of what was going on at that time. As far as the writing goes for this book, I would say I could kind of take it or leave it. There were certain quotes that the characters say that are so beautiful, but I wouldn't really consider Ruta's writing to be like flowery and fill up the page. It was very much about the what the characters were thinking, and so the conversations that they were having with other characters. The dialogue is very prevalent in this book, whether it's internal or actually speaking to another character on the page. So I wouldn't say this is like a beautifully written book, but that's not why I want to read her books. I read it for the historical setting and getting to learn so much, and then also hopefully getting attached to the characters as the story goes on. And I did definitely get attached to these characters. As is also the case with a lot of Ruda's books, there is a lot of heavy emotional stuff going on, and although I didn't cry or anything like that, I could definitely feel that weight of realizing that although this particular situation of this character going through this experience is fictional, it is based off of an actual experience that somebody had that Ruda may have researched or even interviewed. One thing that I didn't really love about the book was how short the chapters were. Because it follows multiple points of view, a lot of times when you finished a chapter, you were jumping to somebody else. And sometimes the chapters were a page and a half long. I think the longest one was probably 4 pages. They were very short, which some people may really like because they like being able to read a couple chapters, put a book down, and not feel like they need to read 30 pages. I mean, I don't love super long chapters either, but I would have preferred if the chapters in this book had been a bit longer, because I felt like every time we were really diving into somebody's point of view, really learning about them, it would get cut off and then we would jump to somebody else, and I wanted to know what was going to happen with the other perspective first. I didn't really love how that was done. So that was my least favorite part of my reading experience with this. Something else that I enjoyed about this book was every so often in between different chapters, there would be quotes from newspapers or actual oral interviews with people who worked at the consulate in Madrid at the time, or even after the time period that this book is set. One time there was even a quote from a textbook, but it gave you a little bit of insight into what might be coming up in the next few chapters. But it also was cool, at least for me, because it was actual source material. Some people might think it would take them out of the story, but because this is such a historical book, it really worked for me. In the end, I decided to rate this book 4 stars. It's an excellent YA book. It's an excellent historical fiction book as well that I think certain adults may also enjoy. If you're someone that's hesitant to get into nonfiction and you're looking for a book that might help bridge the gap, I think this is a really good one to pick up, because it is still historical fiction, young adult, but there's a lot of nonfiction elements in it. So I think that might help you sort of get a vibe for if you might want to pick up a fully nonfiction book at some point in the future. This is definitely one of those quality young adult books, particularly in regards to the content. If you have read The Fountains of Silence, please let me know what you thought of it down below. Let me know if you've read any other of Ruta Sepetys books and what you thought of them. I really did like Between Shades of Grey and Salt to the Sea. Not as big of a fan of Out of the Easy, which I feel like is a pretty common opinion, but let me know if you enjoyed that book too. As always, all of our links are in the down bar, so you can go check those out if you feel so inclined. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you later.